brought to Tryon, North Carolina, after Louis XVI died in the French Revolution, and so the Magdalen bloodline in the French royal court becomes the Clinton-Rockefeller bloodline, and you get this whole story about the, he calls it Pandora's box in Christopher's book. But you get this idea that the plot thickens, They needed a place to create a haven for the possibility of the rebirth of the star family in the stars. And remember now, we're trying to get past this childish little David Icke versus Lawrence Gardner controversy, which has to say, these are the good guys, and these are the bad guys. This is the white hats, and these are the black hats, and don't get them confused. It's richer than that. It isn't that David Icke or Lawrence Gardner are wrong. It's just that no one wants to do the dialectic which says, why did we need the juices of this powerful reptilian family, the dragon's egg, planted here in order to get the leverage we needed for the juices up the spine to make the eye tooth that penetrates the dragon's egg that gets us out of the matrix. The membrane of the egg is literally the speed limit of the speed of light, which sets a cocoon around all human activities. You can kind of say, from that perspective, the only thing that ever emerges from the planet is that which can be squeezed using DNA and glands Bliss tight enough to go through the speed of light. It's the only thing that survives. Well, you say, why does this question arrive now? We've been doing fine for 2,000 years, and Anna Hayes in the Halls of Amenti says it's not 2,000 years, it's 500 million years we've been being messed with by various ET bloodlines. But why does the question arise so urgently, so critically now? And this is where actually Jose Argoyas' Mayan calendar really comes in, because the reason the question arises now is because the sun is about to burp. The Christians would say the rapture is here. And what they mean by that is the same thing the New Age people say with lousy astronomy, that the photon cloud is here. What they mean is magnetic compression is here. And the sun does an appropriate test to see if we can squirt our DNA like a steering wheel into the sun. Because otherwise, the ET family knows that our gene pool is of no use to the stars. If you remember when millions of children sang at the same instant on the days of the Earth healing events, the Earth Day events, and on two separate occasions they measured a dramatic, rather sudden shift in the solar flare activities when millions of children sang at the same moment. What we were beginning to learn was not only is it necessary, but the sun wants us to steer the sun. What it is it starts like this. When you die, at the moment of death, the body loses 4 to 12 ounces. That is one measure of the amount of gravity, stored inertia, our only measure of mass. That's the amount of stored inertia that our conscious focus has been able to throw its weight around. So you put your attention, little finger, your attention moved charge. Charge created embedding. Embedding creates gravity. Attention, little finger, creates a tingle. You make presence by moving your attention. That's the force of your attention. It literally throws weight around. Well, hologram, matter being merely a hologram with a weight problem, you have this situation now that only collective centering force, that same thing which steers tingle into your little finger when you put your attention there, collective centering force, fabricating gravity by squirting self-reference into the wormholes that hold little donuts inside bigger donuts. That focused self-reference, self-awareness, creation of centering force is what is the glue, which is the mechanism of all real bonding, ionic, covalent, or human, okay? And that fabrication of centering force is what eventually in the collective migration of soul groups enables us to inhabit and steer through and use the sun like a lens. This is with a deep meaning behind the Maurice Cotterell's work, the Tutankhamun prophecies, about the geometry of the fire in the sun being the mechanism of all fertility in DNA, and the real center of the Mayan calendars, codons being the I Ching, DNA codons based on the pattern of the fires at the heart of the sun, which looks like the slipknot Anu, same as the shape of the human heart and the ultimate subatomic particle, and the heart of hydrogen, whose spectral emission series is in fact Balmer series log functions of golden ratio. So you have this whole metaphor about the heart of the sun is the only slingshot out of here for the collective genetic squirt gun. It's called the migration of soul groups. So the halls of Amenti complex under the Giza Plateau at Pyramid was a fabricated magnetic lens designed to allow whole soul groups to squirt themselves through the speed of light into time, to emerge from the matrix, to peck their way through the egg. Well, it turns out that the alignment of those sacred site structures has nutated and has shifted and has slipped. And there's kind of a funny story told that after so much interventionism on this planet, various galactic forms of government, Anna Hayes calls it the Guardian Alliance, Alex Collier, lettersfromandromeda.com calls it the Andromedan Council, various groups, it's clear they do not approve of interventionism, because indigenous gene pools do not create new information for the stars unless they're set free. So they can't and won't intervene unless we ask them to. But yet at the same time, already we have been intervened with, because interventionism is the origin of our DNA. So this Guardian Alliance, Galactic Federation, how you want to, various government bodies said, look, we are going to prevent this dangerous gene pool on Earth from being, they called it a quarantine of a dangerous virus. That's us. And they said they'd let us out of the quarantine if we would produce children whose emotions could bend stars. And the finish of the story about my friend, who is the kind of, I could consider him kind of a Draco Ghostbuster, James Landrell, was, he said, now the Draco high families realize that interventionism, the astral milk house, parasitism. An example of an astral milk house is, Inanna goes to China and Mongolia after Enki and Enlil blow up the Sinai Peninsula in a nuclear squabble, and that becomes the Mongolian blood, which becomes Ashkenazi, which becomes the Bank of England, which becomes the New World Order, that under the Templars creates insurance and banking. Bad press calls the same Skull and Bones Navy the pirates and extortion, and that is how you use banking and insurance and, the financial mechanisms of a planet to milk a planet. You take that in combination with what maybe 70 to 90% of religion on this planet is to create an astral milk house for low-grade ETs, you begin to understand that human gland juices, the auric, thick, sticky stuff of coherent emotion, is food for beings who can't make their own gland bliss. And